get it rolling here and see exactly how players decide to change the strategy. From what I saw in the last CA, most of the players tried to take a strategy of not landing in the city and going to the outskirts, which seems like a good strategy, but it depends on how many people make it out, how many cars actually spawn in the edge, and then go into that. Oh, looks like we got a little train here. No, I actually do not know all the commands. This was kind of a last-minute setup. I was out of town until yesterday, so I'm a little bit behind. I actually just spent the last 2 hours setting up the stream just to be able to get this rolling, so it may not be as smooth as we want it to be, but we'll do the best. Kind of a last-minute backup stream. So we have about 163 people, so it's going to be a pretty busy game. Be interesting to see exactly how that affects the in-city gameplay. Oh, this is a name I haven't seen in a while. Xarian used to be one of the people who's won a lot of the games in CA back in Z1. He was one of the few people that actually pulled more than one win in a day. Looks like we got Prox, we got Echo Fox Radic. Always a challenger. Let's see what kind of outfit Radic decided to sport today. That red hoodie is unlucky. I'm telling you, that's not going to work out well for him. I have not seen a person who would wear that red hoodie in any kind of competitive thing do well. So we'll see if that actually works out for Redick. Looks like we got Cloak, Shell Shock, a lot of names. So who do you guys think is actually going to take this one down? If I was to take just a shot in the dark, I would say the top 3 contenders for this are probably people like Inboxes, if he's actually playing, Jerk, people who are always super consistent. The match should be getting started here. Yeah, let's actually fly out to the map. Let's probably go around PB first, see what kind of action we can find around there. Go to the warehouses first, see what kind of action we can get. Looks like a lot of people are just getting situated. Ooh, something that's going to be a little tough. It looks like you gotta be pretty close to be able to see the names. Unlike in the old map where you were able to kind of just see maps, everybody from a good distance, but try to make the best of it. Looks like we got Linden. Took an aggressive landing. See if we can find any action around here. Although he looks to be pretty alone. We got Oliver's GC pretty close. Also, someone has been in the competitive scene for quite some time. Neostorm in this match, not using his typical name of Twin Galaxies. We got Seb over there. Wow, we actually did not get a ton of people that landed in PV. Let's see if we can find a spot with a lot of people. Well, actually seems to be quite a view here. Let's see if we can maybe actually find some fights. Well, we got 2 people, Siki and Kudos, in the same building. We'll see if we run into each other. Radic taking down a kill. Doesn't look like they're gonna engage. Look at Siki's just sitting at the top of that building waiting for whoever's near him to kind of get some distance. It's actually a good strategy if you're trying to make it late game. Let's see if maybe we can find some action in the shopping area. So we got 3 players if we're running into each other. And again, guys, sorry I'm not used to the new control console for the spectator mode. It's not quite as easy as it used to be. Looks like we may actually get some action here. A lot of times early in the game. Oh, and looks like he may be leaving. Doesn't look like he's going to want to take this fight. Oh, actually going to take the peek. He is going to go in there and take the fight. Let's take a look. Not the cleanest engagement, but he did take him down. Let's see if we can find some more fights. Maybe people in the residential. Oh, looks like Hara disconnected from the match. Bro, 2G getting a second kill in a row. Gonna find some fights here. I'm not sure if you can actually teleport to players like you used to. That's going to make it a little bit challenging to kind of warp around between players. Little Hana taking some shots. Looks like Little Hana and Jeesh are fighting. Hana about half life. She's going to have to really land some shots here to be able to get the kill. Oh, she gets the kill by exploding the barrel. That's going to make a nice little highlight. Looks like she's about 10%. Nowhere anywhere near her. And I see you guys are chatting to me a lot, guys. I'm trying to kind of pay attention to the gameplay, so I probably won't be responding to chat a lot. Looks like Lyndon and Oliver are pretty close to one another, but nope. Oliver's still kind of playing passive in the building. Lyndon seems to have cleared the warehouses and is now continuing to loot. Siki and Kudos near each other. Kudos may actually take some shots at Siki once he comes out. But no action. I decided to use the smoke to make sure that she can heal back to full life. That's actually a pretty smart strategy, with the exception that it does give your position away. So it does, although it does make people harder to hit you, it does let people know that you are there. So you kind of have to take both sides of the coin there when you do that. You give away your position, but you do get the ability to heal back up to full. Looks like Rogue, Siki, and Kudos all within one building of one another. And with Lyndon on the other side, but all of these guys playing super passive, nobody really taking shots. I'm pretty sure Oliver was able to see Lyndon. Takes the first couple of shots, but then Lyndon, once not part of it, he's just gonna, looks like he's just gonna walk away from this one. Kudos on the other side of the building has to be able to see Oliver, and yet doesn't seem to really want to engage from building to building. Let's kind of get close. Oh, he's just prone. He wants no part of any of this. Let's see. People are going to start making their way towards the safe zone. We're probably going to start seeing a lot more engagement, especially for a lot of these players that aren't, don't have a vehicle and aren't in the safe zone. Now, although they're playing passive now, they're definitely going to run into one another once the gas really starts to push them. So, and they're also not looting a lot of areas, so they're going to be pretty low on loot. So let's kind of head towards PB or Cheeto here and see if we can maybe find some people. Looks like we got two people in the same building, although one of them seems to not be moving at all. They're probably just playing super passive, waiting to see exactly what's going on in the building. They're just listening it out, waiting to see if it's worth the engagement. Looks like up, and it wasn't able to get close enough to get that fight, but looks like Vitality does get that kill. I do hear a car moving around here, and yeah, guys, I'm gonna have to change my sensitivity between games. This is way too high. 400, great for a shot, not so good for casting. Oh, looks like we got Radic and the ATB heading over to crossover and Symphony. Let's see if we can get this engagement here. Definitely going to jump out and take a fight. Now, it's very possible that Radic's going to be able to sneak up behind these guys and start taking shots from the back if he wants to. Neither of them has landed a shot yet. Oh, looks Symphony maybe lost one shot. Interesting that they're both using ARs, yet he chose to close the distance. Oh, he just goes for the rush. Symphony kind of goes down. This rush was successful. He did hit the shotgun out. He just didn't land the hit. Radic knows that this engagement happened. Just trying to just watch to see what happened. Looks like he might decide to push here to get some loot. Especially if he feels like he's got enough of a shot. Looks like he has a shot on somebody who's sitting still. Decides not to take it. That's unusual. Radic, one of the most aggressive players in the game, just takes a peek, sees somebody looting, and then walks away. I would not have expected that. That's more of a move you expect someone like me do than Radic. But let's see if we can find another engagement. So it looks like I am old school and I was able to catch his name. Jam Soda trying to engage, but he doesn't want to actually stick around for the fight. He's actually gonna run away. He looks like he's actually gonna chase him. Let's see if we can get some more perspective on other possible fights going on. If not, we'll kind of continue to follow this action for a little bit. Looks like he's gonna jump out. Nope, he actually didn't jump out. He's continuing to move away. Looks like he really doesn't want to take this fight at all. Started jumping out, taking a few shots. Old School jumps out of the tree, so now that we're going to get the engagement, it's going to be a pretty long distance one. He's going to want to move to a tree, or at least get to a place where he can maybe throw down some nades. Old School in a slightly better position. He does have a better cover that doesn't take damage. But Jam Soda being next to his car does have the advantage to be able to relocate, so we'll be able to see exactly what kind of fight he has to choose. Looks like Old School did get hit. He's taking damage. Jam Soda also took one hit. Now, the thing to remember when you take engagements like this is the longer you take a fight like this, the more you leave yourself open to a backstab. So these guys should be very worried about that. He's collecting there. Old School down to about 50%. I'm sure it would be wise to use some kind of nade here, especially after the tree cover there. But instead, he's leaving himself open, very confident he can close this out if he can just get closer. Unfortunately, it did not work out well for him. Now, this is what I was talking about. That engagement took so long that this guy was able to get in a situation to get into a backstab. Now, Old School almost down to no health. Looked like the pre-med ended up saving him. And nope, he's not going to continue. So it looks like that engagement's over. But just remember that whenever you're in any kind of longer fight like that, you're kind of leaving yourself open to just inviting anybody else who's in the area to come take some free shots at you. So you want to keep your engagements clean and precise. And anytime that you fight for over 30 to 60 seconds, you want to relocate and find a better location to keep fighting, because if you just concentrate on one person, you leave yourself totally open to a backstab. Looks like we might have an engagement here, although we've seen that Kudos has played very passive in PB, so he may not take this fight, but we'll see. It is a Jeep versus a truck. Jeep typically at a big advantage both in its movement and in the fact that it adds more protection. It looks like we are going to get the engagement. It's a pretty long fight, so this is going to be a matter of who can predict the peaks and do some pre-firing. Of course, we do have a third player entering here, so 99's in kind of a lot of big trouble here. He's going to get pinched. He's down to about half life. Looks like he did manage to get back into his vehicle. He's going to try to get away. Now, the question is Kudos going to start taking fire? Yep, he is taking fire. He does land the fight. One hit on Cutie, and looks like they're forgetting about 99 right now. They're going to let him catch a hit. So Kudos knows he has this guy down to about one hit based on the number of hits he's landed. He's going to try to close it off. Now, there's no way that he was able to get a medkit off. If he had a procog, he might have been able to use that. But chances are he is hurting, and he's not going to chase. He's just going to let himself heal. And it looks like no one's going to die from this three-way engagement. But still a pretty interesting result for the way that fight landed. A lot of people were shot because there's no teaming or anything. Obviously, you get into a situation where 3 people take damage, but nobody gets the kill, because in the end, more important than getting kills is not dying. And one of the things that you'll see in these competitive environments is that people who normally try to go for 30 bombs in a regular game won't even worry about getting more than 1 or 2 kills. Last week we had Shurima Wizard with 10 kills over 3 games, but the average kills per player was 1.2. So just to give you an idea of how much the game changes from a competitive scene to your standard match. See if we can find some more engagements here. We got a lot of people coming out of the gas into the safe zone. Looks like Linda was able to pick himself a car. It's a truck, so it's not the best vehicle in the game, but it'll definitely be good enough to get him to the next safe zone. Little Hana, about half life. Looks like also moving pretty quickly. So I'm guessing has a Jeep. Yeah, the yellow. I was trying to think of the name of that dinosaur movie. Now I can't remember what it's called. Jurassic Park Jeep that she likes so much. Not particularly my favorite one, but it's still a pretty neat little skin. Let's see if we can find some more fights. Looks like we may get an engagement here. Looks like they're both headed towards one another. But like I said, a lot of times in competitive gaming, you get a lot of passive. Looks like Boxy goes down to Noble Fury. Boxy, somebody's been around the scene for quite a long time, so pretty good pickup there. So looks like he is going to jump out. Looks like 99 finally goes down. Some of these names are not the easiest to read out loud. Like, pretty much 100% sure that person just ran their face across the keyboard and said, oh, that works for me for this particular. And sometimes that's good. I know a lot of players don't want to have their normal name when they're in competitive matches. Sometimes the element of surprise can play pretty big into these kind of situations. So that could be a big reason why people do that. Of course, for all I know, maybe that is their regular competitive game and they're just huge Michael Jordan fans. Find some fights here. Looks like sensitivity is a little, goes from super slow to ridiculously fast. So we got 3 people all next to each other. Maybe we'll be able to catch a fight here between Ave, Kevin, Tom, and the TB23. Nope. Doesn't look like they wanted any part of it. Just gonna drive by. Oh, it looks like he is gonna turn around, maybe start looking for the engagement. Nades are gonna start coming out. Obviously, if you hear that, the first thing you want to do is start pulling away. The nade was successful at taking out the car. He may actually just leave from here. Once you cripple somebody by taking their car, a lot of times it's not even a reason to kill them. Sometimes that's enough damage to finish off the players if they have to run into the gas. So, Xarian playing very safe. Looks like he's just doing the typical C1 strat, which is just kind of keep moving, play the outskirts, try to find the best result by just making it to late game to the game and being able to win 1 or 2 fights. Looks like we got some actions here. I don't know how much fighting they're actually going to do since the gas is pushing them. Little Hana is also close enough for if she hears some bullet shots, maybe she'll peek into that engagement. We'll kind of keep track of all these players right here, see if we can find a fight in between one of them. Although, as you can see, they're all just seem to just want to stay alive, not really pick up a fight. Which makes it a little tough to find engagements, but looks like Toba's actually gonna try to do the chase down here, especially since there is a 3rd player in the area. So if these 2 guys start going at it, it's very likely that we'll see a backstab happen here. It's interesting. Neither player landed a shot. Both decided to jump back into the vehicles to try to make the range a little bit smaller. Now they're both just kind of toying around.
Yo, Senshu, if you right click and use the scroll wheel, you can change the sensitivity of the camera.
Yeah, I'm doing that. It's just in my mouse, it goes from like nothing to max like right away.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a little tough. Oh, looks like little Hannah goes down. Cloaksy goes down. Tobins may actually run into the aftermath of the little Hana engagement. Neither of these guys have landed a hit yet. It's interesting how at the very beginning of the engagement, they both jumped into the car to try to lessen the gap. Now that they both realize they have similar playstyles, now they decided to go for as long as fight as possible. Now, as we mentioned before, the longer this fight goes along, the longer they leave themselves open for backstab. So that's something that these guys have to be very mindful of. And that's probably why we're going to see a lot of constant little movement. So that way you can pick up if anybody's trying to move around you. Right now, it looks like the majority of the players are trying to keep as much of a distance from one another as possible. Yep, so here's exactly what I was talking about. This fight took so long that now a third player has joined, and he's going to start just driving around and taking shots at them. When you're in a situation like this, typically the best thing to do is just kind of move along and reset the fight. But looks like Kage doesn't really want to fight. He just wants to took a couple of shots, didn't get the free kill he wanted. Doesn't want to get pinched himself, so he's moving out of there. Especially since the gas is going to push forward a little bit. Both of these guys are going to lose their cover here in a few seconds. Looks like Retink is actually going to join this little action here. Decides to leave his cover of the car and jump out in the middle of the open. Most of these guys have really good shots, so they're willing to put themselves in bad situations as long as they can land one or two shots. Xarian finally picked off. Looks like somebody ran into somebody out on the outskirts. Oh, now we got a third person taking shots. So Retank's in kind of a bad spot. And if he doesn't move here, he may actually get pinched from up to 4 different positions. Nope, looks like he's going to be able to run back to his car and not get picked off. Radic jumping out, taking the free shots. Looks like Radic was the last person to have joined that engagement. He doesn't seem to lose any health, so he must have gotten a medkit off before removing. Be interesting to see exactly how these guys decide to move on here, since they're able to hear and see that there are a lot of players near them. Getting pretty late in the game. We still got 51 players left. Some engagements are going to be forced pretty soon. Let's move towards the other end of the map, see what we can catch. Is the Greedy Bear still alive? Kind of staying on his own. We got some people still hanging out in the gas. Doggers Raw also kind of just playing it pretty safe. Most of these people, the ones that have played a lot of competitive games, you will see them do this a lot, where they will just continuously keep moving, especially towards the safe zone. They won't necessarily stick around in one area for too long, so that they can't be boxed in. So it looks like Retank's going to take the engagement. He does have a rock and a slightly better cover. However, he doesn't have the free access to a vehicle, so if he does get pinched, he will make for an easy target. Raw Dog, on the other hand, kind of limited to the cover of his car. Looks like Cuffix was going to try to get a pinch in, so Dog decided to move because of that. Able to pick up the kill there with the AR versus the shotgun. So we'll see if Scuffix decides to move around. I know he just heard that engagement inside. He's probably going to try to use the water as a little bit of cover to start making his way around. However, Doug looks like he knows that there was a third player in the action. Doesn't want to loot. Started healing up in his car, so that way he wouldn't ever leave himself open. He could easily move if he did start taking shots. And Scuffix in a truck probably has to take this engagement.
Yo, Senshu, if you press R, it puts you to the nearest player, and then you just press the number keys. It gives you different angles.
Okay.
Pretty cool.
You said that was R? Dog goes down. Scuffix picks up that kill. Kind of all by himself, so he should be able to heal up and get some loot and get on his way. Scuffix has been someone who's been around the competitive scene since it started. Someone that was around even before the original showdown, when kind of all these servers first started up and we started seeing the spectate mode for the first time. So it's good to see that some of these people have been playing and putting a lot of time into H1 are still around and still doing quite well. So you guys are probably thinking the same thing I'm thinking. God, I hope Mini fixes his internet connection. Yeah, and so again, guys, I apologize for not knowing the controls as best as possible. This is literally the very first game that I've used this new center in, so I was kind of just hoping to fly around and mess with that stuff. But sometimes this is better than not having anything at all. So again, guys, just hopefully next game Mini will be back and you guys can enjoy a stream by someone who's done this a little bit more than I have. So, question is, Radic gonna take his first engagement here? I've seen him take a few shots, but it looks like he's playing pretty passive. Him and I had a discussion about this the other day, that in this type of competitive environment, the ATB might be actually the best vehicle because it has the most probability to make it to the end game. As long as you don't use the turbo, it uses the least amount of gas, and without the magnum being in the game, it's actually a pretty hard vehicle to take down. So if you're able to position yourself well, it's very easy to just outmaneuver people, especially since you can make it to the trees without really hitting anything. Looks like he's going to take a few shots at Tom. Tom's going to reposition himself, try to get behind the trees. Oh, actually, he's going to just go ahead and drive away, even though he's in a truck. That's a pretty risky thing to do in an environment against some of the best players. Most of these guys can pick somebody out of a truck without much problem. Oh, and it looks like the big winner on that was the bombs. Unfortunately, the problem with the truck as well is if you are being below that plane, it's almost impossible to get out of the way. Swagly TV and Radic look like they're going to go at it. Radic doesn't have the best cover, but hopefully he'll be able to pick off. Swag lands the first shot. Radic's going to use line of sight. Grenade coming in. Radic's going to just do precision. Again, this is where that ATB movement comes in handy. You can pick up and go really fast. It's hard for people to hit you. And Swag looks like he's just going to go heal. Radic's also just going to get away from there. They're not really interested in picking up kills in this kind of environment. It's all about the win. It's about the only stat that really matters in this kind of game. We almost got close enough to be able to pick that up. It looks like Caliban goes down there. We're down to 36 players. The gas circle is going to get pretty small. Action is going to start picking up. Looks like inboxes just playing the outskirts of the map here. Not taking any chances on getting hit by anybody. Like, again, he just wants the win. So deploys the smoke to protect his car and to be able to heal, not take a lot of shots. And then he's just going to take his time. That's something you'll see a lot more in these competitive matches than in regular games. People will use a smoke grenade in a lot of different situations, even in cities or places like that where you normally wouldn't see it in a regular match. Especially once you know you're against really good players that all can land shots. You don't want to take the risk of getting hit in the middle of, either making bandages or even just reloading and moving around. So it looks like we have 3 players pretty close to one another. Sweet Dream, Shell Shock, and a name I'm not even going to try to pronounce. I'm going to call him Zia from now on. Sweet Dream's just taking some shots. Shellshock is actually trying to get this kill. The problem is I don't know if he realizes the third player near him. Yep, the third player near him was the one that was able to pick him off. Anytime you fire, even if you don't get that kill right away, you got to be very aware that there could be somebody near you, and everybody in this particular setup has a great shot. So 2 seconds of standing still trying to pick up a kill is typically enough for them to two-tap you. So in these type of games, continuing to move and just being really aware of your environment is far more important than picking up kills. So here we have Seb probably going to be forced to engage here as the gas starts to push this forward a little bit. It'd be interesting to see if he takes the fight and if we get a three-way engagement here. But Seb doesn't look like he actually wants to pick a fight. It looks like he just wants to outlast, wants to make a little higher than top 31. Oh, he actually decides, why not take a few shots? And sometimes that's something players will do. Once they see that somebody's playing a bit passive, they'll jump out and see if they can get a couple of free shots, thinking, you know, more than likely the person's just going to drive away. Seth kind of puts himself in the rough spot, not having any rocks near him for cover and only a police car. Ends up taking the first hit, and that might be enough for him to want to disengage. Teenage looks like he's going to follow here. Bashti is also really close. It'll be interesting to see if he wants to come in for the cleanup here. Seb in the bushes. Teenage goes down to Bashti. Bashti down to about 20% health. Seb does not want to take the engagement right now. He just wants to heal up, possibly drive out of here. Kind of an interesting fight here. I'm not even sure the Teenage realized that those two different people that he was fighting. I think he probably thought the person he was originally fighting had wrapped around. Talented picking up a kill there. Looks like we have Sia and Jerk Chicken fighting here. Jerk kind of getting himself trapped here. Looks like Rogue also, or Drop Kid, also getting involved here. Now, Dropped is the one that's going to get himself pinched if he doesn't realize that there's another player on his side. And Sev is going to start moving up. So, Dropped in a kind of a bad spot. It's going to be a question of whether Sev decides to push here or not. And it looks like he is. Although Sev's taking shots himself. And Sweet Dreams able to pick up that kill. And Seb probably going to try to go for the loot or the ATV. He might actually be really underlooted and decide that it might be worth going for. But taking some shots, decides not to do it. Looks like we have a three-way fight between Groomy Bear, Sweet Dreams, and Jerk. Jerk is saying he's in the middle of it all, doesn't have any real cover, just has to relocate. Now he's probably going to try to wrap around Groomy Bear to try to force a pinch here between the two people he was originally fighting, and so he can have an advantage. But it looks like for right now, it's just going to be a 1v1 between Groomy Bear and Jerk Chicken. Jerk decides to push away from the tree. That's a good technique, so that way you can't get naded or hit by a special. Able to pick up the kill on Groomy Bear with some great shots. Two really good players there. It'll be interesting to see if Jerk can go all the way. Like I said, he's typically one of the players that's very easy for him to make it late in the game. Has a ton of experience. And a great shot to go along with it. Mountain's still around. Looks like Measly and FPS are fighting it out. However, they are near a lot of other players, so anytime they fire at one another, they leave themselves to get pinched. Measly throwing down the smoke, trying to get to some cover, realizing he's probably not in the best spot for fighting. Looks like figure out exactly where those shots are coming from. 9-6. Looks like he was firing. Wasn't getting any kind of resistance. Radek's still around, wrapping around. He's going to be in the gas here in a moment, and this is where the gas starts doing about 3 to 4% damage per second, even if you don't have full toxicity. So you don't want to get stuck in this gas for too long. It will bring you down in health very quickly. Sweet Dreams taking down that fight. Sev, hearing that, may start wrapping around. However, Sev has a few problems with his own between inboxes and Bashy. Bashy in a rough spot in the gas. I'm not sure if he's going to make it out. Actually, I'm pretty sure we're going to see him die here in a few seconds. People don't really realize what a huge difference the gas makes at that level. It takes a pretty big jump where you really can't out-heal it. At most, you can maintain yourself. So, 13 players remain. Looks like we have a lot of well-known names between Mountain, Radic, Measley. We still have Seb, who's kind of hanging out in the gas right now. And I believe Jerk Chicken. Yep, Jerk's still around. So lots of really well-known players. Bashy is able to make it out. Very low health. Kind of got lucky there that there wasn't somebody already in that trailer. But a lot of these players are really going to run into one another as the gas starts to push. Although it looks like the trailers will be in the safe zone. Seb kind of getting really close to Radic. We're probably going to see an engagement here. Yep. Seb goes down to Radic. Looks like Seb was getting shot from two different directions there. That's the problem with being sometimes the last person to the safe zone is no matter where you go, you run into a spot that's already contested and is already being held with somebody. Radic's going to be in a tough spot here if he gets spotted. Now, he is in the bush, so he might not. Yep, he does get seen, ends up getting two-tapped there by Measley. Measley picking up a good kill, and Radic ended up in 12th place. Boxes ends up going down to Sweet Dreams, and let's see how many players are still out here in the outskirts. Something's a little hard to tell just because if people don't leave the game, their name still shows up. So Sweet Dreams holding the very top of the map here. Kind of forcing a small pinch. However, because of the trees on the hill, I don't think we're going to see a lot of engagement there until the gas starts to push. Now, all of that in the outskirts will be covered in gas. People like Jerk and Sweet Dreams will have to start making their way in, so they're going to have to decide what they think is the best approach for moving in. Measley and Crossover, they have pretty sweet spots. They're not going to have to move a lot, and it's going to be very hard for anybody to pinch them, so expect them to make it pretty far. Mountain and Monster are going to be able to just kind of hang out and just until the gas pushes them to move. So probably not going to be a ton of action from any of those trailer guys in the next gas circle. Ooh, Jerk goes down to Sweet Dreams. I guess he did not see the approach coming. He got him while he was in his car. Got the quick two-tap on him. Looks like Vitality and Azia are going to fight. Vitality decided he doesn't want to take any kind of chance here. He's just going to have to, or Liam is going to want to just put down the smoke and take cover. Sometimes, you know, you can spray into the gas or into the smoke and get a lucky hit in. But Liam probably laying down with a little bit of hill and is going to be able to get that cover. But now this is the part where we're really going to start seeing some forced engagements as everybody starts getting pushed into the small area. Only 9 players remain. Still with some pretty well-known players, and this is where we're going to see a forced engagement. Crossover goes down right there. Kind of, unfortunately, got pinched in the situation. And looks like we have a car that might be bugged out. It's creating a lot of sound over there. Measley picking up the kill on Liam. And Mountain in a really good spot with a lot of cover. Takes 2 hits. Probably just gonna go back into the trailer and wait it out, especially since the gas is still pushing. Sweet Dreams is probably one of the best spots for this particular gas circle. Mountain decides to leave his cover and goes out into the open, an idea that did not work out too well for him, especially since he did have a little bit of time before the gas was pushing him out. It looks like we're down to 6 players. And most of this action is going to be forced once the gas pushes. But looking at where the gas circle is, it's going to push south. So none of these trailers are going to be in the next safe zone. It'll be interesting to see. I think Sweet Dreams might just barely be in the... yep, he's actually right on the outskirts. The problem with where he is, though, is that people are going to start wrap around, and he's going to probably end up getting pinched. So this is where things like smoke nades and gas nades are really going to start playing a big part if any of these players still have them. Especially if you hear somebody in one of these trailers, you can pick them off or at least force them to run out of the cover into where they'll get shot by somebody else. Everybody playing super patiently right now though. Nobody wants to leave themselves out in the open. We probably won't see action until the gas starts to really push them into the open. So what these guys have to start thinking about is what's the best route to make it into the safe zone while never leaving a lot of cover. Actually, notice somebody's there. He's going to decide to smoke it out. It's an interesting kind of technique. He's going to do that and then go for the explosive. He's going to try to force him out of there, but also not letting him get any kind of visual over to see where he went. Most of these guys are probably popping a pre-med right now before they run out to the gas. And then this first engagement we probably are going to see will probably be these three guys right here. Yep, Measley, first out of the trailer, waiting for Monster to come out. Monster picking up that kill. Oh, turning around, getting the one pump on Bashley. We're down to 4 players, and Monster picking up the kill on 9-6. Now we got a three-way fight. Sweet Dream's probably in the best position. Looks like he may be low on healing supplies as he's down to... Oh, no, actually, he might just be wearing an all khaki. I thought maybe he had that. And now we have a 1v1 between Monster and Sweet Dream. Sweet Dream's picking up a lot of kills so far. It'll be interesting to see how the gas pushes this. Monster having to leave his cover, and Sweet Dream's able to pick up the fight there. Like I said, the big thing that it came down to was a lot of it just positioning. Sweet Dreams had the perfect position where he could just wait for people to come out into the open and pick him off, and that's exactly what he did. So that was a really good way to win that last match.